Hello again, witchy people. Welcome to another HedgeWitch view on Baneful herbs. And once again, this isn't a Baneful herb, but it is a toxic herb. And that herb is Petty Spurge. Now, its old folk names are better known as milkweed, not to be confused with milkweed thistle or any other milkweed, or purple spurge. Don't confuse it with that. And its other folk name that most people know it by is the wartweed. So the reason it's called the wartweed is, and this goes back to when I was a child, and I can remember we had a lot of Romany gypsies living locally, which is actually only a mile and a half or so away from where I live now, where I grew up. And there used to be a wart charmer in this group of Romany gypsies. She's a lovely old lady, but she used to come and charm your warts, and you give her a silver coin and you buy the warts off of her. But she used to use wartweed, spurge, petty spurge. She used to break it off on a certain part of the stem, and the milky sap is incredible. It's an irritant to a terrible degree, to the point where if you get it near your eyes, it can cause temporary blindness. But it's a skin irritant and it can cause blisters, but if you place it just on the wart, it will get rid of the wart. So that's why it's called wartweed. Now, the plant in some cases can grow about 30 centimetres, about a foot high, not in my garden. And it does grow upright. Occasionally it will grow on a more flat, sort of, it will creep a bit. And then it can sometimes be confused with some forms of chickweed. But anyway, I mentioned my garden, and this is some spurge, petty spurge from my garden. So I'm going to turn this light around so you can see it a little bit better, she says, hopefully. There we go. So this is petty spurge. I don't know if you can see, in the centre of this little rosette of petals, there's like a little yellow dot, and that is where the seed goes. I'm trying to find a piece where this is a much smaller one. This has got that kind of little yellow rosette centre, and they do grow upright. Like I said, occasionally they grow along the ground first, and they can be mistaken for some forms of chickweed, but they have a root like this. Now, because of the sap, the plant, like I said, is incredibly toxic. It will make you very, very sick. However, it is said that the root is an anti-emetic. It can stop you from being sick, and throughout history it's been used for a lot of purposes, medicinal purposes, including as it's been used to help bad labour. When a woman is in labour, it's to help reduce labour pains. Like it's been used to get rid of warts and calluses and corns, among many other things, but those are the main uses. It is a plant that tends to like, I think, subtropical sort of conditions. However, it will grow very well in shade. This one, it's rather compact. This one grew in very much shade. It grew underneath a tree, whereas this one grew slightly more in the sun. As you can see, it's just more leggy. They tend to be a little bit more bushy when they grow in deeper shade, more compact. Actually, I'm being very careful, and I don't know if I can find a bit where I can get the milk out for you, but you just snap a piece off, and the milk, the sap, I think they call it like a latex sap, it's very sticky. So yeah, it does grow, and it grows well roadsides and up against old walls and in barren wastelands. It grows very well. It will grow in meadows, it grows in your grass, but like I say, it does like a little bit of shade. Strangely enough, it's part of the Euphorbia family, which also includes poinsettia, don't forget, but it is part of the Euphorbia family. Okay, now I've told you some of its historical uses and folk names. Now, in more recent years, scientists have been using the sap using components of the sap to study its effects against cancer, specifically leukemia and skin cancer. Also sunspots, it's good for treating sunspots, and of course warts. They're also doing more into that. Sorry, I know this is really bright and I'm really sorry. There's nothing I can do about this sunlight that's creating a lovely halo over my head. But because of all this research over the past, it's been about the past 30 years or so, it's given rise to new folk names. And those folk names are radium weed and cancer weed. But like I said, it can cause extreme irritation and temporary blindness. I think I'll turn this around again. So please be careful, it's not helping, is it? So you do have to be quite careful. This is going to be a terrible video with all this light. Welcome to another sunny day in Southampton. So, now I do have here, and I will link this down below. You can download a PDF version of this. It's called Transcendental Magic by Eliphas Levi. Translated by A.E. White, and was originally published in 1896. So I will put the name of the book and the author, and you can look this up and get a free copy. And this is just an excerpt from the book, and it's quite long. However, and it only mentions Spurge once, very briefly, but it kind of gives you some idea of just how toxic this can be, along with other herbs, of course, and among other things. But it's included, I'm going to give you some idea of the kind of things that it's included in. Like I said, it's quite long, so bear with me. Okay, it starts going on about poisons and turning things into gold, and then suddenly a toad comes into this, and I don't know where. I'll have to read back further. Excuse me for a moment. Okay, so I will start reading from somewhere where it kind of makes sense, maybe. And it starts: John Baptist Porter cites in his Natural Magic a specimen of Borgia poison. But, as may be imagined, he is deceiving the vulgar and does not divulge the truth, which would be too dangerous in such a connection. We may therefore quote his recipe to satisfy the curiosity of our readers. The toad itself is not venomous. Hence, this is where the toad comes in. I have no idea. The toad itself is not venomous, but is a sponge for poisons, and is the mushroom of the animal kingdom. Take, then, a plump toad, says Porter, and place it with vipers and asps in a globular bottle. Let poisonous fungi, foxgloves, and hemlock be their sole nourishment during a period of several days. Then enrage them by beating, burning, and tormenting in every conceivable manner till they die of rage and hunger. Sprinkle their bodies with powdered spurge and ground glass. Place them in a well-sealed retort and extract all their moisture by fire. Let the glass cool. Separate the ash of the dead bodies from the incombustible dust. Thank you, dear. I've just got coffee. Incombustible dust, which will remain at the bottom of the retort. You will then have two poisons. One liquid, the other a powder. The first, the liquid, will be fully as efficacious as the terrible aqua tofana. I don't know what aqua tofana is. I'll have to look that up. The second, in a few days' time, which is the powder, will cause any person who may have a pinch of it mixed with his drink to grow wilted and old, and subsequently to die amidst horrible sufferings or in a state of complete collapse. It must be admitted that this recipe has a physical physiognomy of the blackest and most revolting kind, and sickens one by its recollections of the abominable confections of Candida and Medea. The sorcerers of the Middle Ages pretended to receive such powders at the Sabbath and sold them at a high price to the malicious and the ignorant. The tradition of similar mysteries spread terror in country places and came to act as a spell. The imagination once impressed, the nervous system once assailed, the victim rapidly wasted away, the very dread of his relatives and friends sealing his doom. How wonderful is that? I mean, not wonderful, but, you know, it sounds absolutely terrible. It's so well written. And like I said, I'll leave the link to what you need to search for on Google to get a free copy of the PDF if you want to download this. Okay, so let's go on to Magically. Apart from all the Wart charming and everything else, Spurge is an incredibly protective plant. You can use it in a lot of protection magic. There's one little spell where you can carry 8 Spurge seeds. I don't suggest counting them out. Spurge seeds are tiny, titty tiny. So you can carry a handful of Spurge seeds. Now what happens is, if I dry this out and you just lay it on a piece of tissue or a piece of paper, and it dries out very, very quickly in the hot sun. And then, I can't even see me on screen now. All the seeds will just dry up and drop off. And you'll see how tiny they are. It's very easy to collect the seeds. So you carry these in a small white pouch, and you can either carry it on your person or hang it above a doorway, and it's supposed to remove evil spirits, ghosts and poltergeists from a home, or if attached to a person. So it's a very strong form of magic. It's used in healing specifically mental and emotional problems. And it's brilliant because of the way that you use it to repel ghosts and evil spirits. It's brilliant in banishing and exorcisms. There is an old invisibility spell that supposedly, I don't think it works, but, you know, give it a go. I think when they say invisibility spell, it's more to do with blending in and not being noticed and actually becoming clearly invisible. You use it for increasing intelligence, protection, and like I said, the invisibility, and used to take the whole plant and dry it out completely. This was with the root as well, if you could. And you ground it up to a powder, and you stood and you sprinkled the powder around yourself, and this caused you to be invisible. So now when it comes to associations and correspondences, it's slightly difficult. Euphorbia has its different types of euphorbia, including poinsettia, have their own correspondences and associations. Petty Spurge, through all its folk names and uses and great historical magical uses, it's very difficult, because I think it's more folk witchery than anything else. It's very difficult to find planetary associations and such like. So it's more about going on your gut instinct. However, it's associated with fire and water, just to confuse you. Like I said, extreme protection is what it's about, but it's because of this extreme protection, the gods and goddesses that it's kind of associated with are Athena, Gaia, Sekhmet, Horus, Iaso, or Iaso, 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 IASO or IESO is how you spell this goddess name. And is also associated with planetary by the Moon, Saturn, and or Mars. It is considered neither male nor female, and is also considered both. Take it as you will. That is Petty Spurge, better known as Wart weed. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that. I hopefully get some pictures uploaded, even though I've already shown you what it looks like. And hopefully it's not too bad that you can't see me and I have this amazing halo over my head. Thank you for watching, witchy people. Bye for now.